Hey everyone, this is Holly with Holly Wade Wellness. Thanks so much for joining this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out. I just wrapped up a facilitator training in Denver, Colorado for the World Groove Movement. And in one of my earliest podcasts, I had Misty Tripoli, the creator of Body Groove, the Groove Method, on to talk about how Groove came about and what she's doing in her life and in her career. So you can go back and listen to that episode. But I just wanted to share a little bit about what this experience did and what it does and how it transforms people. So I always start by sharing that I truly believe Groove finds us. And it gets reinforced every time I get to be a part of a training and hear how people found it or discovered it or why they want to utilize this tool and give it to their communities. And for me, the way that it found me is either 2006 or 2007. It was shortly after I'd moved to Virginia and I was teaching at a university. I signed up for a fitness conference in DC. And my school was going to pay for me to go, but our fiscal year started on July 1. So that was after the early bird registration, close to the date for this event, which meant that the options that were my top picks were all full already. So things like BOSU or the gliders, if you know what those are. There were some classes with those that I wanted to learn about. There were some with ballast balls. So those were the kinds of things, some yoga ones, and many of those were already packed. So I went to these, the next year, and there were all of these classes led by M. Tripoli, who I didn't know who this person was, but there were all these dance-based classes, and I was like, these sound like they're right up my alley, and I'm either going to love this training or I'm going to find something else to do, or this conference, or I'm going to find something else to do. So I arrived to the first session, and you have to understand, fitness conferences are like 3 days, 3 days, going from 7 in the morning until sometimes 7 at night, moving your body. Maybe a few lectures, but mostly moving your body. And so I went to the first session of the conference, which was by Misty Tripoli. I get in there and there's just a handful of people, like maybe 12, 15-ish people in this big ballroom kind of area. And in walks this woman with dreadlocks. She's pulling her little suitcase that has all of her DVDs and all of her things, her notes for her classes. She's got her Starbucks cup of tea, and she turns and visits with us, just really down to earth, turns on the music. And I had so much fun in my body and dancing in a way that hadn't been introduced in fitness. I've always loved to dance. I just have. I'm kind of a natural at it. And it was refreshing to not do choreography, to just play with the music and the rhythms and moves that went right along with it, or styles, playing with these like sassy, flirty, fun 60s, 70s, it didn't matter, disco, like pulling it all out. It was so much fun. Just one big dance party. And I think there were 6, maybe 7 sessions by her. Now, what happened throughout the conference is she also shared more and more of her own personal story, which is really a story of her struggle with her own body and her body image, which is always a deeper struggle with self-image and self-worth, right? Women understand this because I don't know a woman who hasn't struggled in some way. And let me tell you, there were tears in many of these sessions because we could all relate. We all knew that beating and pounding of our own bodies in order to be perfect or more fit or have the perfect body or the perfect abs or the perfect whatever it was. And the thoughts and the attacks that we have with our own bodies, the battles that we face with our own bodies. And what creates that release, what created the tears, was realizing that maybe we didn't have to struggle. Now, because I was at a university that was mostly women, about the second or third session, I walked up to her after and I was like, hey, would you ever come to our university? She's like, of course, I'd love to. And that was it. That's how Misty and I became friends and have had this relationship and this ongoing professional and personal respect for one another. And how I ended up continuing to groove, to become a facilitator, to host trainings at our facility, and now to lead them, and to be a part of the team that gets to do that. That's pretty stinking awesome. Now, why? What is it that we experienced this weekend? So, of course, lots of dancing. Lots of dancing. Friday night, we had a big free community party. And I bet we had 25, 30 people there. So much stinking fun. And then we had this group of 6 women who said, hey, I want to be a facilitator. I want to learn how to use this modality to help other people. And you know what was really cool? One was from Dallas, Texas. One was from California. One was from Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm from Nebraska. So we were from different places. It wasn't even driving distance for a couple of them. I mean, it is, you can drive days if you want to get there, but they came. And we had a ball, and we just, you bond with these people and through this experience. And maybe one of the key takeaways that happens is that there's a strong differentiation, and this has changed me, between teaching and facilitating. Because when you teach, that's when you are sharing the information. That's through a lecture, through a skill set, leading a class. I'm a teacher. And when I'm a groover, and even with my yoga classes anymore, anything I do, I've switched gears and I become a facilitator. My coaching is that way. At first, I'm the teacher to lay the groundwork, but as we get going into it, I'm pulling back and putting on that facilitator hat to guide people to their own answers. And a good, effective coach does that. A good, effective facilitator does that. A good, effective self-help book does that. See, we don't have to be told the answers. We already know them. We just have to have someone else sometimes maybe believe in us enough that we might believe it ourselves. And so that's what I got to do this weekend, was to help others believe in themselves as a facilitator. Now, let me just give you the foundation of Groove. And this is really why I do it. It's the 5 truths. And did you know that when you move your body and you play, you invite play into the equation, you grab those concepts more quickly. You integrate them and utilize them more quickly. It only takes about 16 repetitions to get it versus 600 from just hearing it over and over and over again. You got to do the reps. You got to move your body. You got to get it in there. So the truths are that nobody cares what you look like, and if they do, it's their problem. Think about that one. How many of us are so worried about what other people think in our lives, in our how we look, in the decisions we make, in who we marry, in who we date, in what job we take or don't take? The second truth is your way is the right way. And when you do it your way, you can't get it wrong. And you can translate that into, we all have that inner wisdom. We all have that gut instinct and a heart. Those things will never steer you wrong. When you listen to that still small voice inside, sometimes you might go, what? I'm supposed to do what? The crazier it sounds, the more likely it's what you're supposed to be doing. For me, someone with a chronic condition, to not have a corporate job that provides my benefits is one of those what things. People think I'm crazy. And the thing is, this is what I know I'm supposed to do in order to have impact. This is my way. And it's not always easy. What's yours? And maybe those first two truths go hand in hand because you're worried about what other people are thinking and saying. And the closer those people are to you, the harder it is to break free and do what you got to do. I mean, Moses thought, he was like, who am I, Lord? And he was called to lead, even with all his quirks, even with his imperfections, right? Third truth, you are unique and you should look different. So on the dance floor, which is what we call the space where we're dancing, on the dance floor, here's the thing, everybody is different. And in a traditional class, we're all lined up and facing front, and there's someone leading the class at the front or teaching the class at the front, right? And we're all supposed to match those movements to the rhythm, and it's usually highly choreographed. Well, groove isn't that way at all, because that doesn't allow us to move our bodies the way that it feels good for our own bodies. And when you move in the way that feels good, like when something bothers your knee, you know these things. When you move, when you do things, when you're on the floor, I was transitioning number 2 and number 3. When you're moving around, regardless of what you're doing, we all look different, right? We all are different. When you walk outside, when you go to work, when you go to school, when you go to wherever, you should look different than everybody else. Who cares what the styles are? Make your own and rock it. Number 4, I think this is a really, really big one. And this is one that I am seeing in my face a lot right now, especially in terms of growing my own business. And it's that no one can do it for me. And that's the truth right there. If I want to have my business, I'm the one that has to show up every single day. I'm the one who has to make phone calls. I'm the one that has to go visit businesses and other people face to face. I'm the one who has to let people know what I'm doing. I'm the one who has to be brave enough to say, hey, would you want to work with me? Let me tell you, that's a vulnerable question to ask. But I'm the only one who can do it. Maybe for you, it's about your health. You're the only one who can do that. I can give you the tools. Someone else can give you the tools. But day to day, you're the one who has to do it. Or maybe it's your wealth that needs some TLC. Same things. There are people who can teach you methods and tools that can help you. You're the one who has to work the system, though. Maybe it's a relationship. You're the one who has to have the difficult conversation. Whatever the problem is in your life, you are the only one who can address it. You're the only one who can do the work to change your current outcome. And the last truth is you don't understand something until you have practiced and applied it. Think about it this way. How many subjects have you studied? Right? You didn't master it, or you don't really know it or understand it until you get to use it on a day-to-day basis. Like when I took anatomy and physiology, I understood it from a book standpoint. But until I really started kind of paying attention to my body and having to understand my medical issues and things, it didn't really make sense to me. At the end of the day, it's practice. Everything is practice. You can't understand relaxation until you practice it. You can't understand a healthy lifestyle until you practice it, practice it, practice it. You can't understand you until you take the time to get to know yourself and date yourself and study yourself. You can't understand someone else until you take the time to get to know them and study them and approach with curiosity, right? That's how all this works. And that's what Groove really is about. And that's why I stay with it, because this is the transformative step. Dancing, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And the confidence that people gain from it, and the empowerment, not just women, but men. And just the fun that your body can be fun to be in, and the workout that you get from dancing and having fun, that you don't have to hit it hard, and you don't have to punish yourself, and you don't have to pound your body and tear it up and break it down to be effective. This is why I groove. Am I going to get to see you on a dance floor? If you want to know more, find me on Facebook, email me, comment on this podcast, in some way reach out and let me know that you'd like to join me on a dance floor or join a dance floor experience somewhere. And I will get you in touch with where you can find out more information. Let's get you grooving. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining this episode of Living from the Inside Out. I'm Holly from Hollywood Wellness, your host. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for joining us at Living from the Inside Out. Listen every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To connect with Holly, just go to www.globalvoiceradio.com. Global Voice Radio is where your voice and your message is heard.